Beating Missouri would mean blank. A successful season. Wait, let's see. Beat Georgia, or wait, let's see. Vandy isn't that bad. So if you had to fill in the blank, Caleb, you got those three choices. It's today's tough question, brought to you by Andy Mason, AndyMasonRealEstate.com. Best prices and service in the biz. How about over 40 years of experience right there in Knoxville? What would you take of those three?
So successful season, wait and see. And what was the third one?
Wait, let's see. Vandy isn't that bad. So essentially, you're saying this is the season, or you're saying Tennessee can beat Georgia, or Tennessee could lose to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, they're not losing to Vanderbilt. I'm not a wait and see with Vanderbilt. Tennessee's
that has a 0 vote to this point, by the way.
Yes, it's a successful season. If they beat Missouri, win or lose against Georgia, it's a successful season. I think the hope was 10-2. Vegas set Tennessee's win total, I believe, at 8.5. And so if they win this, they will surpass their regular season win total that Vegas set for them. How do you not call that successful? I mean, we all believed that the future of Tennessee was Nico Iamaleava next year. This year was just a stay above water year, maintain the momentum until you're ready for Nico to get out there. If you go 10-2 in 2022 and 9-3 in 2023, I fail to see how you didn't maintain the momentum, even if you did have a bad loss on your resume, which was at Florida. Now, for people that want to bring that up, and yes, that was a bad loss. And again, depending on what happens this weekend, we might start having a conversation on that loss being one of the 3 worst in Tennessee football history based on the damage it caused. But until we get to that point, it ain't like Tennessee didn't have a bad loss last year to South Carolina. So I think that hasn't changed much. And you wouldn't see much difference from 2022 to 2023 other than you're playing Alabama on the road instead of at home. I mean, if they lose to Georgia next week, Dave, we're just going to say that they were outmatched. Last year's Tennessee-Georgia game, for instance, for everybody that's like they lost to Georgia last year, but it was on the road. Do you think if that game is at home, Tennessee's beating Georgia? I don't. Last year's Georgia game.
No, I mean, the road crowd ended up being a topic of conversation, but I don't think it really mattered. That Georgia team was significantly better. If I ask you the flip side of it, so if they lose, is it not a successful season? That would put you potentially 8 wins for the regular season.
I think it is they maintained their above water season, but it was not a successful season because you needed to go over that 8.5. I think the 8.5 crossing that was the goal, the Vegas win total. They could still do it, but to make it a successful season, they got to beat Georgia. And that's a heck of a lot harder than it is to beat Missouri, even though Missouri is on the road. So I think a lot of the season does come down to this game. You win this game, you kind of go into Georgia, depending on what happens. Now, if you win this game and Georgia beats Ole Miss, you're going into next week and kind of playing with house money because you have no chance of winning the East or making the college football playoff at that point. If you win this game and Georgia loses, pressure is all of a sudden on next week for Tennessee, Georgia. So I don't know what would put Tennessee in a position to play better. Would they be better with the pressure on and the chance to win the East next week? Or would they be better with no pressure and would they just be demoralized if they can't win the East going into the game?
Probably demoralized, I would think. But again, you're taking into account that Georgia's going to drop a game. So they'll know that they could beat Missouri and then not have a chance to win the East as well.
It all comes down to this weekend. It solely depends on Tennessee, and Tennessee has to win. Georgia has to lose. If Georgia wins this weekend, it's over. Georgia wins the East.
If that's the most likely scenario, what's Tennessee's psychology if they beat Missouri? We're not looking past Missouri, by the way. Missouri is a very good football team, and Tennessee has to go on the road against a team that would love to exact some revenge after Josh Heupel ran up the score last year. So we're not foregoing a Missouri win by any stretch of the imagination. But if you go into next week against Georgia and, yes, you beat Missouri, great job, but you're still not playing for the SEC East. What's your mindset?
I think it depends on – I don't know how this team's mindset is. I don't know what it's like. It's
But see, I don't want to bring it back, but I'm going to – college football playoff, that game would still be monstrous. You could win your way in with a loss to Missouri if you beat Georgia.
You can't – not – wait, no, you can't win your – huh?
with
12
12
teams.
teams.
With
That's why you
12
should
teams. I
love
know.
12 teams. I'm winning you over.
You're not. I don't think if Tennessee loses to Missouri that they would ever deserve to play in any college football playoff. A 9-3 team doesn't deserve to go ever.
But they're going to.
But I know, and that's going to ruin the sport. I want the
Okay.
regular season to matter. I like the fact, look, the Florida game could end up being a devastating loss for Tennessee. But I like the fact that it would end up being a devastating loss. It would send a message. You can't take weeks off in college football. You owe your fans to not take weeks off.
All right. You're not going to admit you're wrong, but that's fine. Relive the greatest season in Tennessee football with the behind-the-scenes stories about the 1998 National Championship team. Click below for Celebrate 98, the untold stories behind the Tennessee Vols 1998 National Championship team. Available in soft and hardcover personalized autographed copies available. Click below. But you're not willing to say this is a failure if Tennessee loses to Missouri and only wins 8 games this year, are you? Or are you?
I'm saying it's a slight disappointment. There are tiers here, Dave. There's tiers. So, and when I say there are tiers, like when you could like underachieve a little bit, but you wouldn't say it was like a drastically disappointing season. The 99 season.
I think it's called the ACT for me.
Okay. The 99 season. They underachieved. They started the year ranked number 2. They went 9-2. But do you look back on the 99 season and say that was just a devastatingly disappointing season? No, you say, okay, they didn't do what they should have done. They should have won the East and played and won a 3rd straight SEC title and played for a 2nd straight national title. They didn't do that. But it wasn't like a drastically disappointing season. The 02 season was drastically disappointing. When they started the year number 5 and then went 8-5 and finished unranked and lost 30-3 to Maryland in the Peach Bowl. That's drastically disappointing. You see what I'm saying?
No, I do. Portions of the program brought to you by Don Self at State Farm. Customer service still matters. State Farm agent Don Self and his team take customer service seriously. Everybody's shopping on prices now. I understand that. But for well over 40 years, Don Self and his staff has built their business and reputation on taking care of their customers in Collegedale and Ooltewah, as well as the greater Chattanooga area. Whether it's your small business or family, Don Self can certainly take care of all of your insurance needs. So check them out. What do you make of the line? And hasn't moved much or has kind of just waffled at a pick 'em? Caleb, what do you read into the line? I like to get your insight on this because you're more of a gambler than I am.
I'm reading Tennessee should be thrilled with the line, honestly. The line started as a pick 'em, and then it moved to Tennessee -1.5. It's now up to Tennessee -2. And for those who don't know how lines work, if a line moves towards another team, what that typically means is the Vegas insiders say, oh, we really screwed up. This team's much better than we thought. There's something favoring this team. We need to slightly move the line or else we're going to suffer a bad beat. So either they set that line and then did some research on Tennessee and they're like, oh, Tennessee's better than we thought. Or there is some news, Dave, that you and I don't know about that is...
I have trouble believing there's news I don't know about.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Joey.
But there is news you and I don't know about, either an injury or somebody getting healthy or something like that is leading the Vegas insiders to say, oh, no, we didn't know about this. We got to move it. Now, Luther Burden, Missouri's wide receiver, being listed as questionable. I think that's gamesmanship by Eli Drinkwitz, but maybe Vegas knows something that we don't, that he's actually not ready to go. You were the one who knew that Vegas's line was dead on for South Carolina because you knew that Cooper Mays was coming back that week.
Yes, not through Cooper, but I did know. So who would move the line this week on Tennessee's side? There's really not anybody. When you talk about their most impactful players, Haddon and Peely, they're out for likely the season. Those guys aren't bouncing back anytime soon. I can't think of an injured ball that would come back that would affect the line by a half or a point or move it at all.
Yeah, it's been moving towards Tennessee, meaning the idea is, it'd be an injured ball who's going to get on the field, but I think Tennessee's right now is as healthy as it's going to be. It's not, so who is out is out and who's in is in.
No, totally agree.